Welcome back to our 2026 masterclass at OS2K. I am your host, Angel, and today we dive deeper into the intellectual forces and complex ideologies that structured the modern world. We begin with realism, a movement that explicitly opposed the romantic veneration of sentimentality and the inner life. It was a pivot toward the objective world. Realists focused on the external world. Gustave Flaubert, for instance, applied the cold precision of science to his literary method, seeking absolute accuracy. In his masterpiece, Madame Bovary, Flaubert depicted a detailed, almost clinical account of life in a provincial town, stripping away romantic illusions. Leo Tolstoy, in War and Peace, vividly described the noble outlook and the grand tragedies of Napoleonic Europe through a realist lens. In England, Elizabeth Gaskell dealt compassionately with the plight of industrial workers in her novels Mary Barton and North and South. Charles Dickens detailed the squalor of life and the deep hypocrisy of Victorian society in works like Bleak House and Hard Times. Literary realism evolved into naturalism when it began demonstrating the causal relationship between human character and the social environment. Émile Zola was the leading naturalist. His novel Germinal graphically renders the terrible toil of coal miners, showing how environment dictates fate. Playwright Henrik Ibsen examined bourgeois conventions, notably in A Doll's House, telling the shocking story of a woman leaving marriage for freedom. This focus on the external world gave rise to positivism, which viewed science as the highest achievement of the human mind. Positivists sought to apply a strict empirical approach to the study of society, believing laws governed human affairs just like nature. Auguste Comte believed society progressed through three stages: the theological, the metaphysical, and finally the scientific stage of rational law. In the first stage, the theological, the mind looks to supernatural causes. This was the era of religious dominance over thought. In the second, the metaphysical stage, the mind seeks abstractions. This was a transition away from myth toward pure reason. Finally, in the scientific stage, the mind formulates rational laws based on empirical fact to reconstruct a rationally organized society. By advocating for this scientific study of society, Comte is regarded as the founder of sociology, a new science of humanity. The mid-19th century also saw the revolutionary theory of evolution formulated by the English naturalist Charles Darwin. Darwin did for biology what Newton did for physics, making it an objective science based on general principles and observations. He radically altered our conception of time and life itself, suggesting that humans are products of a long process of development. In The Origin of Species, Darwin used empirical evidence to show how species develop through natural selection and small random variations. Adopting the Malthusian idea that population grows faster than food, he argued that favorable traits become more pronounced over generations. This touched off a massive religious controversy. Fundamentalists defended a literal interpretation of Genesis against the advocates of new biology. Darwinism ultimately helped end the practice of treating the Bible as a scientific authority, shocking the world like Galileo before him. However, these theories were recklessly applied to the social order by thinkers who buttressed brutal economic individualism. The terms struggle for existence and survival of the fittest were used to argue that those who failed socioeconomically were simply unfit. This justified imperialism and racism, promoting claims of European superiority while regarding other cultures as lower forms of humanity. These ideas of racial purity and survival later became core doctrines of the Nazi Party, providing a pseudo-scientific justification for genocide. Intellectuals also attacked religion directly. David Friedrich Strauss argued the New Testament was full of legends, not history. Ludwig Feuerbach claimed that God is a human creation, an unconscious projection of our own feelings, wishes, and self-doubt. Søren Kierkegaard countered that truth is subjective and personal, arguing that true Christians must take an absurd leap of faith. The Catholic Church felt threatened. Pope Pius IX issued the Syllabus of Errors, condemning many features of the modern secular world. Later, Pope Leo XIII supported state intervention for social justice, though he still defended private property and attacked class warfare. Karl Marx proposed a science of history, arguing that human progress was governed by verifiable scientific laws. Marx was a strict materialist. For him, material technology determined social and political arrangements. Class conflict was the driver of change. He predicted the polarization of society into a few wealthy and a vast poor, leading inevitably to a proletarian revolution. Anarchism also attacked capitalism. Pierre-Joseph Proudhon argued that government fosters privilege and suppresses freedom, calling for a stateless society. Mikhail Bakunin disagreed with Marx on strategy, favoring secret societies of fanatic insurrectionists over mass political parties. Liberalism also transitioned, moving from protecting the individual from the state to supporting reforms for the laboring poor. Thomas Hill Green argued the state must promote health and education, laying the foundations for the modern welfare state. However, Herbert Spencer rejected state intervention, claiming it would baby the working class and cripple their natural development. Finally, feminism insisted that liberty be applied to women, overcoming deep prejudices and the view of women as naturally inferior. These 19th century intellectual shifts define the bedrock of our present. Thank you for joining this OS2K masterclass. Pura vida, vida bonita.